Hello, everybody, and welcome, Letterneck fans, to our first ever National Football Signing Day special show. I'm B.J. Stone alongside head coach of the Letternecks, Joe Davis, and we're here to talk about recruiting. It's a big day across campus. It's been a busy time for the coaching staff, and we're glad you could join us. And, Coach, thank you for taking time to do this.
Well, thank you, and I think it's special anytime you're part of the first of something, right? So, to really take this time to honor so much work that's gone into putting this class together when it comes to the transfers, when it comes to the high school players. A lot of folks have had a lot to do behind the scenes to make this, what we feel is one of the best classes here in recent Western football history.
And I know you wanted to take some time before we actually get into the class and who signed to talk about some of those folks that have been big supporters this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it starts with our administration. I often say this facetiously. I go into our athletic director, Paul Bubb, and I ask him for something. He never says no. He might say, hey, we have to find a workaround a little bit to make this happen, but he is a football guy, true and true. He's a Leatherneck, true and true, and wants nothing more, than to see this football program be successful, and I think that's inspiring for me, for our staff, for our team. There's a lot of folks behind the scenes. It certainly starts with our recruiting coordinator, who you folks will hear from today, Josh Caraway, who, is looking at video and transcripts and doing background checks and setting up visits and doing flights. And there's a lot that goes into that, when you carry the recruiting coordinator title at the Division I level. And then our graduate assistants, from our director of football operations, Sophia Tedesco, to Andrew Feartag, Anthony Briccato, Zach Trevino. These are the warriors. These are the foot soldiers. They're making airport runs and picking up families up in the Quad Cities or Peoria or St. Louis, bringing them back to Macomb, getting them to the hotel and back. So a lot of those small details I think go unnoticed, but really it's the secret sauce to put together a great class of players.
And as well as that, there are local businesses that support in a sponsorship level, and it wouldn't be possible a lot of times without their help.
Well, absolutely, BJ, and probably our number one supporter / sponsor that we really lean on for these recruiting cycles is Mike Woodrum at Woodrum Toyota Ford. Our program has the ability now through Woodrum Toyota to use brand new vehicles to pick up recruits from the airport and to transfer them around town. Again, it's a small perk that goes a long way in terms of how we present our program as a first-class operation. Here at the Sports Corner, this is Macomb. This is where we do a lot of our official visits and we bring recruits and their families sort of into the fabric of this community here at the Sports Corner, among some others, from Jimmy John's to Domino's Pizza to the Hampton Inn in town, all these folks that really welcome these prospects and their families with open arms and really make it special for everybody involved.
And I'm sure that when people tuned in, the first thing they saw was the stuff behind us. They know we're at the Sports Corner
right
at 124.
Right.
You've been on a job about going into your 14th month since getting hired here at Western Illinois. Talk a little bit about your first year and also at the same time where we're at, like with the mid-year class that was already recruited last fall.
Yeah, it's a great question, and boy, time flies when you're having fun, and it really has. It's been a fun 14 months. I often say this to families that we recruit right now and prospects that we recruit. The general sense about our program right now is optimism. There's a lot of excitement from the players to the coaches to the community about glimpses, I think, positive glimpses that we showed on the football field last fall. We're certainly not where we want to be yet, but a lot of optimism, a lot of excitement, and really, a lot of small victories that we've had as a program. I often say when we took over this program 14 months ago, one of our first priorities was to rebuild our class and our team academically and really place a priority on the academics and the student component of student athlete.
Right.
We just finished with the highest GPA in 7 years here at Western Football with a 3.025
That's
GPA. It's something I'm really, really proud of. Again, it takes a lot of work and a lot of buy-in from the players to do that. BJ often say to our team, if you want to win a championship, if you want to take something from someone, you got to make sure your own house is in order first. And we've taken a lot of pride in that, from academics to strength and conditioning to community service and certainly the football part. We've come a long way. So excited about where we're at and excited about where we're going.
Now, since the end of the season, it's been time to recruit.
Yeah.
And kind of describe, before we get into the class, what is the recruiting process anymore? This is a wild time in college sports, what with the portal and the NIL and the ability for kids to transfer as easily as coaches and assistants do. What is the recruiting process like? How's it changed since you've been in the biz?
Yeah, I mean, the roster management component, I think, in Division I football is probably at an all-time precedence. Players now, and I'm sure many fans know this, have the ability to transfer schools every year if they so see the need to. And so after the last game of the season, right, wrong, or indifferent, good, bad, or ugly, just about everybody on your team's a free agent at that point, And so I think there's also a retention aspect in terms of how we treat the players, the experience that we're providing for the players, to hopefully make it hard on them, that they don't want to leave. They say, hey, listen, I got coaches here that love me. I got a community that really loves our program. I can see the vision that the coaching staff has for me and for us as players, and I want to see this thing through, So that certainly is a challenge, but I think it's a positive one, This winter, through graduation, through a little bit of attrition through the transfer portal, we had to add to our roster. We were able to sign 15 scholarship players through the transfer portal at the mid-year. Another 8 guys that decided to join us as walk-ons. And I say for us here at Western, we are willing to turn over every single rock when it comes to acquiring transfers. You look at that class and, guys from Division II or Division III, guys from the junior college ranks, guys from the group of 5, guys from the Power 4, in situations that they were just, looking for a little bit better fit or looking for more of an opportunity to play. And collectively, we brought in, a class that we're really, really excited about from a depth standpoint. Mentioning some of the mid-year guys, and some of those highlights, again, this is something I'm proud of. Those 22 guys that we brought in at the mid-year had a 2.95 GPA from their prior schools. It tells me that they got a shot to be successful here at Western as students, which is really, really important. Certainly the defensive backfield was a focus for us. Struggled there a little bit last fall. Lost some guys through graduation. We signed 6 defensive backs through the transfer portal. Our new defensive coordinator, Coach Fox, you'll hear from him. He's most impressed that some of those guys are 360 dunking out there on the basketball court in between lifts. So we got some athleticism there. The 2 offensive linemen, I tell Coach Wilson, our offensive coordinator, you got to basically plan on signing a couple linemen almost every single cycle. Doesn't matter if you're Alabama or Western, you always need those big boys. Right. We signed James Duran, a 4-star high school offensive lineman that signed with Wisconsin. Was a young man that, had 20-plus offers not more than 2 years ago. And then you couple that with Michael Forney, who was a Division II starting offensive lineman, has started, I think, 13 or 14 games at left tackle at the Division II level. So shows you a little bit about the diversity in terms of how we go in terms of levels. And then, as I've said since I've been hired here, BJ, that it does start up front, and I mentioned those linemen. The 2 defensive linemen that we brought in at the mid-year, Stephen Oberst is really a guy that models the type of defensive lineman we want to build around here. He's big, he's 6'4", he's 300 pounds. He's agile, he's quick, he's very athletic. He's going to be able to play multiple positions there in our 4 down front, 3 technique. We'll be able to bump him out to a 5 technique. I think he can play some nose on the inside. Uses his hands really, really well. And then Jalen Nicholas is a young man that we felt was a diamond in the rough. We found him at a prep school out east. He's originally a young man from New Jersey. And looks the part. I mean, he's all at 6'2.5", 6'3". He's 230 pounds. We call him a guy with long levers. He's just got really long arms and high hips, and a guy that we see is really going to help us from a pass rush perspective. So, those are just some of the names there, that mid-year class, and those guys, again, now have been here for about 3.5 weeks, still integrating themselves into the team and the culture and the community. And really right now they've bought into what's a focus for us here in the off season, and that's going to class and lifting weights. That's really our focus here these first 4 weeks of the semester.
But it's also going to provide you probably about 15 more bodies in spring practice than you did going into last year. Bigger bodies, some guys with a little more experience, and really will help the team depth-wise.
Yeah, well, in football, it's still a little bit of a numbers game. The NCAA house settlement is something that fans may or may not know about, but this is something that Western is looking at being a part of that's going to cap our roster at 105. Well, how do you get the best 105 players every single fall? And I'm a big believer that you carry a little bit heavier roster into spring football, knowing that the roster will probably organically sort itself out after spring football, So last year, 2024, our first spring here, we had 77 guys in spring football. We had a healthy spring. We were competitive, finished with a great spring game. Right now, we've got over 90 guys that are training with our football strength staff and our coaches. So, to have that kind of depth and competitiveness to go into spring football, it's just going to be a big positive for our culture, for our program, and certainly the competitiveness on the field all spring.
Absolutely. We'll be talking about some of those spring dates in a little bit too, so stick around for that. Obviously, recruiting is a multifaceted, it's like a fork. There's all sorts of different tines there. You've got the transfer portal, you got JUCO, you got high school. And then, of course, you have different sessions, the fall session. And now let's transfer to today, the National Football Signing Day, a big day, some big news, and some really nice recruits coming in from the high school class.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. Certainly a class we're very, very excited about. And make no mistake about it, we certainly have to supplement our roster with the transfer portal, but we want the fabric of this team to be built through high school student athletes, guys that we've built really strong relationships with. We know their high school coaches, we know their parents, we've watched them play other sports, and guys that we can develop within our systems. And so it's always going to be a priority. This is another shift I think that we had to make when I was hired, is refocusing back on this region of the country. The great Western Illinois teams, BJ, were built with Illinois and Iowa kids, just tough kids, maybe a little bit under-recruited, chip on their shoulder. And so that's been a big focus for us. We certainly, hit some home runs here in the state of Illinois and certainly the state of Iowa. So the first signing period, which is December 4th, we actually signed 8 players at that point. And then today signed another 6 scholarship guys, and we'll be announcing some more walk-ons here over the next week or so, guys that we're really, really excited about. But, to highlight this high school class, again, this is really important to me and our football staff. The cumulative GPA of these 15 high school kids that we signed is 3.47. We are bringing in excellent student athletes, young men that want to get their degree from this university, and that was really, really important to me, certainly is important to Paul Bubb and our administration to find those right kind of guys.
And you want these kids, the ultimate goal is they spend their entire college career right here in Macomb, growing, getting better as not only a football player, but as students and as community members, and that is the ultimate goal. There's going to be some changes to that plan as you go along with each of these kids, but the goal right away is to get them committed to stay here and be a student at Western.
That's the goal, and I right, wrong, or indifferent. Again, this could change philosophically. I've told our staff, I said, we look at these kids that we're going to have them for 4 years.
Yep.
We're not looking at them and, hey, we could keep them for a year. This guy might transfer. I don't think that's the right attitude. I think from a sustainability standpoint, a relationship standpoint, it's important for us to build into these guys and look at them and say, hey, we've got this young man for 4 years. So absolutely, and I appreciate you picking up on that. So excited about the staff, excited about the students. Again, I mentioned building our program through the trenches, something I'm really excited about. Coach Wilson, our offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, and Coach Feartag, I mentioned, as our offensive graduate assistant and works with our offensive line. Boy, did they bust their butt. Just shaking the trees, finding the right guys to fit. The 4 scholarship high school offensive linemen that we signed average 6'7", 305.
Wow.
And I've said this many times, having been in the national playoffs, I've never looked across the field in pregame warmups and said, boy, that team's small. It's the complete opposite.
Right.
You look across and you're like, golly, these are some big cats, that we're about to compete with, and it starts up front. So that size up front is something that we sought and something that we found, and we had to be a little bit patient. And here at Western, I challenge my staff is that don't ever take the low-hanging fruit. We need to be able to get into the bushes, get into the weeds, build the relationships, find the guys that might be a little bit of a diamond in the rough, and be willing to develop those guys. And that certainly is the case with this high school group.
Well, we talk about that offensive line. We can start right there with a couple of these recruits. We're looking at kids, like you said, 6'7", already 300 pounds coming out of high school. They will be first in line at the team buffet, or they'll move everybody out of the way to make sure they are, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, these are guys we're excited about, and from a philosophical standpoint, we're building our program with high school players that are great students that are also multi-sport student athletes. My dad always said, idle time is the devil's workshop,
Right.
So these young men that are in high school, I want them playing basketball and baseball, I want them wrestling, I want them throwing the shot put or running sprints, whatever the case may be. It tells me that they have great time management skills as well. They're going to fit in really, really well to our program. So, to highlight some of these guys, BJ, going back to that first signing day, a young man by the name of Tyler Solzberger from a small town in northwest Iowa, almost all the way up to South Dakota, had come to see us here on a game day visit, was all a 6'9", and Coach Wilson and I both kind of looked up at him and kind of looked at each other and said, this is a guy that we have to dig in a little bit deeper on, and was a first-team All-State offensive lineman, but maybe more impressively right now on February 5th in the state of Iowa in heavyweight wrestling, he's 46-10. This is a big, tough guy.
Yeah.
And a cool story about this young man and his community, they don't have any other heavyweight wrestlers. So they bring in grown men to practice to wrestle this kid, just so he can practice against big bodies. So, those are the little stories I think that create some redeemable qualities, in a player. So, Tyler, we're really, really excited about. Tommy Lamberti was a young man that signed with us today, a suburban Chicago young man from Carmel Catholic, one of the highest recruited offensive linemen in the state of Illinois, 15-plus offers at one point, had multiple opportunities to go into the group of five for a lot of different reasons. We waited with him. We had some patience with him, and we just signed a 6'8", 300-pound offensive lineman that's the starting power forward on the basketball team, can move his feet, physical, smart, tough, captain. Really, really excited about him. Ryan McCombs, somewhat local young man from Jacksonville, again, was a first-team 5A All-State Illinois high school offensive lineman. And one of the things that stood out to Ryan early in the process is a 51-foot shot putter. These are state qualifying type times. They're going to get you into the state meet. And I've often said it's hard to miss on good shot putting offensive linemen. There's hips, there's explosion, there's balance, there's coordination, there's athleticism. And so, and Ryan's a guy that we see as a center. We see him as a guard. He's got some flexibility and some versatility. So very, very excited about him. And then the last guy, I say this is Coach Wilson's long lost younger brother, Luka Siamashvili, which we found out this week is the first resident or first descendee of the country of Georgia to play Division I football in the United States of America.
That's
so
cool.
we found Big Luka. He's 6'6", he's 330 pounds. Certainly has some rawness to him, but we watched him at a couple camps this summer. We really kept our thumb on him throughout the fall. Watched his high school film get better and better and better every single week, and we were able to close the deal with Luka. So all in all, those four high school scholarship linemen we look at as cornerstones to what we're doing here as a football program.
Well, and they're joining a program that put 500-plus yards up against a couple of playoff teams in FCS last year, and they're just going to add depth to that offensive line, and I know how important it is for you and your coaches to be strong in the trenches.
Well, absolutely, and like I said, you can never have enough of those young men. Right now on our board, including the walk-ons, we will report to camp in late July with 24 offensive linemen, on our team. That's the most that's been here in almost a decade. So that depth gives us the ability to develop. It gives us flexibility to move those guys around. It helps with scout teams. And I just think says a lot about great programs when you have that depth and versatility on the offensive line.
And, of course, it isn't all just offensive linemen, also a couple of receivers part of this class, and a good crew coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I joke a little bit facetiously that this time last year we were trying to beg, borrow, and steal to get some good skill kids in here, and now you have the year that we had on offense, and it becomes a lot more attractive, and we throw the football here,
And what you tell me, you didn't complete a pass for like 3 practices
well,
last spring.
We're still trying to figure a lot out, in our first spring, and you got the westerly winds coming in late March, and the balls are flying everywhere, and of course the coaches, we're all looking at each other like, holy smokes, man, we might not gain a yard this year, and everything, kind of came together a little bit. So, but yeah, these young men we're excited about. I'll talk about Morgan Keary to start, and again, this is a young man from Tucson, Arizona, Sal Point Catholic. We had some connections with his 7-on-7 coach, and again, I'm a big track guy, especially at the skill positions. Morgan's almost 6'5", and was a sub 50-second quarter miler.
Wow.
And I always said for wide receivers, the 400-meter dash might be the most telling track event, because it requires speed and endurance, and the 400-meter guys, they hit that first turn and all of a sudden your lungs collapse. And the guy's got to have some mental toughness to be able to sustain in that 400-meter dash, just like a receiver would, right? They're running, they're blocking, they're running takeoff routes, they're running short routes. They got to get back on the line. We play with a lot of tempo here. So Morgan immediately stood out to us for that, in addition to his size. We like those big, long receivers. And was another young man that had multiple Group of 5 offers. That was offered by the Air Force Academy, was offered by Western Michigan, had some Mountain West interest, and feel very, very fortunate to land Morgan and excited about what he's going to bring. The second high school receiver we signed, Joel Celine, and again, another young man from a talent-rich area in South Florida, is a young man born and raised in Miami. And another young man with excellent track times. He's an 11 flat 100-meter dash. He's a sub 23-second 200 meters, 6 foot. Had Florida Atlantic, had Bethune-Cookman, Florida International, had some Group of 5 offers early, and we were able to just kind of hang on and let the dust settle and get Joel up here for a visit. And so those two guys kind of spearhead the receiver class. Couldn't be more excited about it.
Outstanding. A lot of people, me included, we don't often think about guy runs a 40-yard pattern, not targeted, got to hustle back and run 40 yards back to the line of scrimmage. So to your point, that 400 is a good judge of that.
Yeah, it's correct. Well, and I think that goes in line with the multi-sport component of a lot of these kids. There's a mental toughness aspect to being a good multi-sport athlete, and I often say that the multi-sport athlete, he had to run the 100 meters and he won or lost. He had to take the game-winning shot in basketball and he made it or he missed it. But during those times in his high school years, he's learning competitive lessons that a trainer can't necessarily teach him. A strength coach can't necessarily teach him. And so when he transitions here to Western and we play in these big games, in these big moments, the moments aren't as big for those guys, right, in my opinion. And that multi-sport competitiveness, I think, goes a long way.
Outstanding. And, of course, they're joining a unit with several returnees in that backfield. That was a very strong offensive unit. Should be a pretty nice mix this coming fall for the Leatherneck offense.
Absolutely. I mean, and as we mix in, I love bragging about our current guys. Again, our GPA, our work ethic. I think off the top of my head, a guy like Eli Aragon and last year Matt Henry, who had an excellent season and deservedly so, earned a lot of accolades, wasn't even our leading receiver. Eli Aragon had the most catches on our team, and I think a lot of times, from a statistical standpoint, Matt popped 2 or 3 200-yard games. Will sit in the box score was Eli with 9 catches and 130, and you're like, golly, a lot of receivers give their left arm to have a day like that, and he ended up finishing with 65 catches and really at the end of the season was playing his best football. I thought against Gardner-Webb he was borderline dominant. Even his headstand was dominant during that game.
One of the great moments of the year.
One of the great moments of the year. So, Christian Anaya, who had 30-plus catches for us last year, transferred from Montana State. Tristan Duncan, who, added almost 30 catches. Brandon Lanier, who I thought, again, finished last year as one of the better tight ends in the OVC Big South. There's just a lot of positive. Damari Davis, who averaged almost 20 yards a catch, is back into that group. So, in addition to a good core of young guys that we had last year. So maybe the deepest position on our football team as wide receiver, and excited to see those guys compete this spring.
Absolutely. And we are, very excited about the offense, as we should be. Coach Davis put a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of points on the board. Good special team players coming back as well. But I want to transition to defense a little bit. Before we bring Coach Fox up, I want to talk about the defensive class. And you mentioned one of the defensive linemen signed in the early session, but you brought in some pretty good talent for your D.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a huge focus, and I mention all the time to many Leatherneck supporters, I've gone against the great Western defenses. I've gotten my butt kicked at times as an offensive coordinator against the big, tough, physical Western defenses that made you earn every single yard. I want to get back to that. That's always going to be the fabric here, man, is us playing really hard, nasty, physical defense. And it starts with recruiting great people first, and then certainly great athletes, So excited about these guys. I'll bring up just some names here on the defensive side. A guy that really stands out to start, a young man by the name of Don Paul Keith, Metro Detroit guy, had actually verbally committed to us on the first signing date. We had some academic stuff we were kind of working through with him from an eligibility standpoint. Got him eligible. This is a 6'2" corner. Again, incredible track times. He's a 10.85 100-meter dash. He's a 22.3 200-meter dash. He was on the state runner-up 4x2 team at River Rouge High School, which is a very accomplished football and track athletic department. Couldn't be more excited about him. Again, a big, long, physical defensive back. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? Is he a hybrid nickel player for us? I think is going to give us a lot of versatility. So, again, that track background. A young man that when I mentioned diamonds in the rough, we found this young man on the first signing date out of Canton, Ohio. A young man by the name of Azorian Bonner. Again, averaging 17 points a game on the basketball court this offseason. He's a 21-foot long jumper. And we kept watching his video, and he listed himself at 6'4", and we're watching the video. We're like, this got to be the first guy that claims he's 6'4", and he's really 6'4". I mean, look at this guy out there flying around. He plays nickel, he plays safety, he plays wide receiver. So I think he's going to be an excellent puzzle piece, for Coach Fox on the defensive side of the ball. Again, where does his body go in terms of development? What position is he going to fit into? But a long, athletic, multi-sport kid that we're really, really excited about. The two inside linebackers are guys that I think, man, are just so representative of Western football. Just tough. Cam Nickel, a young man from Metamora up by Peoria, was one of our first commits there towards the end of the summer. 157-foot discus guy, 6'3", 215, all kind of bloodlines that played in the Major League Baseball, to the NFL, to MLS. And really, really excited about Cam. Again, we look at Cam as a true Mike Will inside linebacker. We anticipate him being a 6'3", 230-ish, 235-pound runner. Long, physical, athletic. Excited about Cam.
And he had some dominant games in the Mid-Illini Conference. They took over.
Absolutely. And again, another all-state player. Another young man that had multiple offers early, was really close to committing to West Point. Some things fell through for him. Again, we're kind of waiting with open arms on some of these guys, so excited about Cam. Joe Edwards is a young man from Downers Grove North, played some defensive end at a big 8A suburban Chicago high school, great program. Again, another young man. He's about 6'2" and a half. He's probably 215 now. We see him as a 230, 235 kind of a player. And his older brother's a starting left guard for the Buffalo Bills, and is 6'7", 320. So there's just dad played at Indiana. So there's just a lot of good bloodlines with some of these guys, and a lot of times that's very telling, BJ, in terms of where they're going from a physical standpoint. So those two guys inside, and then a late player that Coach Fox had a prior relationship with from a Chicago powerhouse, St. Rita. Justin Buckner was a first-team All-State Illinois High School Football Coaches Association pick. We see him as an outside linebacker. We call him the Sam in our defense. About 5'11", 200. Was the Defensive Player of the Year in the Catholic League in Chicago. And a young man that had a million offers. And we just kind of hung with him. We loved him up. We brought him down for a visit, and we're able to seal the deal. So, those are some of the guys that I think really, really stand out from a defensive standpoint. Again, multi-sport guys, basketball players, track guys, and guys that, we couldn't be more excited about to bring in the fold here at Western.
And you brought in a guy to coach them with some solid credentials. Talk a little about Coach Fox before we bring him on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about Coach Fox. Football is certainly a game of relationships, and relationships that I tell our players all the time, BJ. Football is a great game because it brings you places that you never thought you'd go, and it introduces you to people that you maybe never would have met. And Coach Fox and I, cut our teeth as young coaches at Wayne State University in Detroit. I often joke with him. He was the stud. He was the full-time linebacker coach at that point. I was a fledgling quarterback coach, just trying to, kind of make my way, and just developed a great bond at that point. It stayed in very close contact over the years, and he got an opportunity to be a head coach at Valparaiso University. Was there for 5 years. They decided to part ways, and I looked at it and said, I really feel this time we need a very veteran presence on that defensive side of the ball. A guy with a little bit of command, a guy that's done it at a high level. He was a longtime defensive coordinator at Dayton. In fact, played against Western Illinois in the playoffs in 2015. And so excited about what he's going to bring to our defense. Just a little bit of a hard edge is the way I would kind of describe Coach Fox, and I think that's how great defenses play. So very excited about him and very excited about his energy and enthusiasm so far in the program.
All right, and we're going to give a chance for Leatherneck Nation to meet Coach Landon Fox here in just a minute. So we'll take a quick time out. Stick around with us here on the YouTube program tonight, National Football Signing Day from Sports Corner at 124. Back in a bit.
Hey, you'll find your school.
I just want to find a place where I can be myself. I want to try new things. I want to find my people. I want to make a difference. I want to have a place to grow, to make mistakes, to learn new things. And I want to do college on my own terms.
At Western Illinois University, Leathernecks don't just blend in. Our purple stands out. Our students are innovative, creative, and resilient. At WIU, there's limitless potential, with campuses in Macomb, the Quad Cities, and online. Visit wiu.edu.
University for free. At WIU, your college and career journey is yours to define. Discover the place where you can unleash your potential. Apply for free through February 28th.
Welcome back into our National Football Signing Day show from the Sports Corner at 124. I'm BJ Stone, and we are joined by the new DC defensive coordinator for Western Illinois University, Landon Fox. And first of all, Coach Fox, welcome to town. What do you think?
Hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about the enthusiasm about the program and what Coach Davis and his staff were able to do in year one. And Jen, just the community support. I've been around town, and it's Western Illinois athletics. Football, sure,
right.
But athletics as a whole, it gets you excited, the support that you have in what you're doing. And obviously we put a lot of time and effort into what you do, and so to be recognized, you feel good about that and the excitement that you have towards the program.
Well, Coach Davis talked about his relationship with you going back to your days together at Wayne State up in Detroit, and also that you had faced a Western team before as a member of the staff at Dayton in the playoffs.
Yeah, so just interesting how it works. I think in any successful organization, you win with people. And Coach Davis and I had the opportunity. My first full-time job was at Wayne State University in 2005. I GA'd for 4 years. I had a hard time finding a job. Nobody wanted to hire me. And we get there in 2005. I was there 5, 6, and 7. Coach Davis was there. And the really cool thing about Coach Davis, he's been around really good programs, winning programs, and then he's been around programs that have rebuilt. And at that time, Wayne State in 2004, Paul Winters took over the program. One of the worst Division II programs in the country at that point. And so I had the opportunity to be there 5, 6, and 7. Coach Davis was there, I think in 5 and 6. Other programs where they've had success. Puts him in a position as a head coach to know, hey, this is how you want it done. And obviously you could see that in year one and the excitement that not only you have here in the community, but in the college football world as well.
Right.
I mean, that, you hear, hey, at Western Illinois, hey, they're on the up and up. And Heck, I knew it, this year outside looking in too. And so, and then for me, also the history and the tradition of Western Illinois football in 2015 to be able to play those guys, to be able to play us now,
Right.
in 2015 was a great opportunity, and had them come over to the University of Dayton where I was at. I was going to say fun, but I don't know, because we had some opportunities early and take advantage of them, and they ended up beating us. And so, but it's fun to be here, and I'm excited to be here in terms of the tradition and the excitement around the program.
Well, and tell the folks a little bit about what your philosophy is. In this day and age, pitching a shutout in college football is darn near impossible. So you're going to give away some yards, you're going to give up some points, because that's how the game is played these days. What is your philosophy going forward off that?
I couldn't agree more, but at the same time, you still want to have that mentality.
Right.
Of, hey, guys, we're only give up 12 points a game. Because guess what? That's what they're going to shoot for. And if the guys have that mentality, they'll work as hard as possible to say, hey, we're going to give up 12 points a game. We're more 15 is where we're at. But it is challenging because offensive guys do such a great job. Tempo,
Yep.
the amount of plays you have
The rules kind of favor offense.
They do, and so the amount of plays you have to defend is challenging. For me, what I'd like to see here, and I want you to hold me to it, is I want it to be a defense that's sound. And so to your point, could you possibly give up some yards at times? Yes. I don't like the bend but don't break kind of philosophy. I don't necessarily like hearing that. But hey, we want to force 3 and outs, get off the field. But at times, hey, if we can force field goals, you're going to put yourself in really good position.
Absolutely.
And where I want to really hang my hat is you need to be in the right spots. We need 11 guys doing their job on each and every play. And you think about that, that's hard to do. We're playing 80 plays, and you got to have 11 guys doing their job each and every time. And it's crazy. I've been doing it a long time, 20 plus years. And if you don't, guess where the ball finds it? The one guy that's not doing their job.
Right.
And it is amazing to think. It's like water. Water will find, that leak or that crack. And so you have to make sure we have all 11 guys doing their job on each and every play in order for you to be successful. Got to be great tacklers. And I think tackling does come down. It's not one-on-one tackles. You have to have guys in position to make tackles in a variety of different ways. Hey, I'm a force defender, I'm a cutback player, I'm an alley player, and when you do that, that creates opportunity to be really good tacklers. So you need all 11 guys, or guys, taking pride in running to the football in order to, eliminate, the points.
Right.
And so I think that's what we really want to do a really good job here. Eliminate explosives. You give a big plays, you're in trouble.
And you talk about 11 guys, but it's really in today's game, as the game continues to evolve, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would bet in the last 20 years, the number of packages you see and the number of defensive packages you have to employ with different players means you have to have more depth than ever before.
So I was in the Pioneer Football League for the last 20 years, and I would say it's even a little more unique maybe than the Ohio Valley, of just it's option, Davidson. It's 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, beat you up, St. Thomas. Morehead State was tempo. And so to your point, you do have to have the ability to have personnel that can fit, hey, here's what we're seeing this week. We have to have the ability to adapt, and then we have to put our guys in the proper matchups to be successful. Because you can't go out there and say, okay, we're playing a heavy run team, and then that guy will be okay against a heavy pass team.
Right.
It's not going to work. And so you have to be able to put your guys in position to be successful as a coach. And it's very important that we're very conscious of, hey, that's a good matchup for us. Not at the extent of the guys don't know what they're doing, but at the extent of, hey, in a one-on-one matchup, we're in very good position.
This is our best option.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
And then that brings me to a question about the mental side of defense. These kids play high school ball. They probably play every snap at a lot of levels. When they get to this level, they have to learn you don't have to play every snap to be successful, right?
Well, I want it to be two platoon, if you want to say high school football, like I want guys where you have depth and you can play multiple guys, because our guys are going to practice really, really hard. We're going to demand it, and they'll say, hey, they'll say, hey, I'm going to do what the coach asked me to do, and if they do that, then why don't we play them? And so we want to do our very best to reward the guys that are doing what we're asking them to do. And if you can do that, you can get guys excited about playing defense. And so you can't go out there with just playing 11 guys the whole time, or it's going to be a long day, because just the amount of plays equal points.
Yep.
And so if you can have the ability to play a number of guys, it's going to allow you to stay fresh. It's going to allow guys to be excited. I want to play, I'm getting an opportunity to play defense. Here's what my role is in the game. It's going to give you an opportunity to be successful on defense.
And some guys are better playing 110% for 40 snaps, and some guys prefer to play 60 snaps, but they have to learn within the system what is best for the team.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
All right. What do you think of, as an opponent looking in for the last season, Joe Davis's offense has to scare people coming in. How can the defense be complementary to that, or can the offense be complementary to the defense?
So I told Joe this. I'm excited. I get to go against one of the best offenses in the country every day in the spring. How exciting is that for myself, our defensive staff, and our defensive players? And so they should be extremely excited about that opportunity, because that's only going to make us better during the season. Now, I did tell the players, like, the expectation here is to play great defense.
Right.
And the history tells you that they've done that here, and some of the players that they've had. So
some of these numbers up on the wall behind us.
Yeah, 100%. And so you want to educate the players about that. This is the legacy. This is how you can be really good. And to me, yes, offense scores points, but and I'm probably a little selfish and biased, but defense wins championships.
Yep.
And we have to come in here and be a complementary component to what they've done offensively, and that's out there. Like, guys, people know in college football, hey, you come in, you're number one in the league and 15th in the country, and so, like, we have to be able to contribute to the team of, like, we're going to play great defense. And great defense to me is be in the right spot, play as hard as you possibly can, for 60 minutes or more. And to me, that's where we got to hang our hat.
All right. And you've had some time, last thing we'll talk about, you had some time in town now to meet your returning defensive players. What do you think, and what about some of the new guys coming in?
So I tell you this, I couldn't be more excited. The guys are excited. They want to be good. Do we know exactly how to do that at this point within our scheme?
Right.
No. But we're just getting started. So how would they know? And so you can feel it, though, that they want, hey, coach me, coach, put me in the right position, coach. And if you do that and you earn their trust, like, oh, wow, I'm in the right position, and if I'm in the right position, I'll make the play, the sky's the limit. They'll do what you ask. And then I say this in terms of incoming guys. You could talk about transfers. You could talk about incoming freshmen. Credit to Coach Davis and his vision on what it looks like, but the work that the staff has done. I came in midway through, so I'm trying to figure this thing out.
Right.
What's it look like? How are they doing it? And the amount of work and effort and the details that they've put into this is outstanding. And as a former head coach, like, I'm evaluating, like, okay, what's this look like? And those guys, they were outstanding in terms of, here's who we're recruiting, here's how we're doing it, here's who we want, this is what it looks like. And when you do that, and you have that kind of focus on the details, you have a great opportunity to be successul.
And you have a chance to get on the field here pretty soon in spring ball. I bet you can't wait.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. We do get some opportunities here in February, March, as you go out, you get on some field work with some conditioning stuff, that you'll have some opportunities to work with the guys a little bit more in terms of that 10-hour week that you have with them. So I'm excited even to get into that of getting to know them a little bit more than, hey, just
right.
the weight room. And that's because that's what it's about. Like, it's about relationships. And if you can have really good relationships and the guys know you care about them, and I talk about playing hard, They'll play as hard as they possibly can.
Buy in and they'll do it.
Correct, 100%.
All right. Well, it's great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
I
Can't
am
wait to
too.
see you out on the
Yeah.
sideline. We be sideline or we be up top?
I'm on sideline.
You're a
I'm on
sideline guy.
Sideline, yeah.
All right. We'll see
They
you
can't,
then.
they can't put me up there. That'd be a caged animal up in the box.
We like a cage animal.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, BJ.
Landon Fox, the new defensive coordinator at Western Illinois University. We're going to take a quick timeout again, bring Coach Davis back up here and talk a little bit about Josh Caraway, one of the guys you've had to work closely with as a recruiting coordinator to try to get to know some of these
Does
kids.
a great job, yeah.
And we'll talk about him with Coach Davis right after these as we continue here from the Sports Corner at 124.
Welcome to the University Union. Serving as the center of campus life, the Union is a great place to hang out with friends for lunch, meet with a student organization, attend events, or take advantage of one of our lounge spaces to study or relax in between classes. The University Union is here for you.
This February, apply to Western Illinois University for free. At WIU, your college and career journey is yours to define. Discover the place where you can unleash your potential. Apply for free through February 28th.
We welcome you back in, Leatherneck Nation. We're at the Sports Corner 124, and we've got Coach Joe Davis back beside us here. I'm BJ Stone, looking forward already to the 2025 fall football season. And Coach Davis, before we bring up Coach Caraway, let's talk a little bit about a couple of the events coming up. There's a big golf event that's a big fundraiser for the team, for the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've said many times, BJ, I'm always so impressed with our alumni base and just how passionate they are, how much they care about the success of this football program, how much their time here at Western meant to them and impacted them. And they certainly are guys that want to give back. So this year we've got a group of alumni led by Brian Spots, Rich Weston, big supporter in the community here, Dan O'Neill, Scott Collins, that are putting on our Leatherneck alumni golf outing. And it's really going to be basically a 3-day event. Alums will come in on a Thursday night. They'll have the ability to play free golf Friday. They'll come to the spring game Friday night. We'll do the Leatherneck handshake. And then Saturday morning, the actual football alumni golf outing at the Masato Golf Course takes place. And certainly is a huge fundraising opportunity for our program, BJ. But maybe as or more important is just that connection. You know, seeing our players interact with Leathernecks of the past and hearing about their stories and seeing how passionate they are, I think goes a long way just for the culture and the positivity in our program.
And you mentioned the spring game. The spring dates have been announced. A couple of great weeks of practices. How much of that is open to the public?
Yeah, I mean, just about everything. You know, we really focus on allowing high school coaches and prospective high school student athletes to come to our practices, but our practices are open. Anyone that knows Hanson Field knows that it sits beautifully right in the middle of Western's campus, so it's not necessarily a private venue, you know, and so we welcome students, fans, community members, you know, to come out and see us. We have 15 practices that will start on March 18th and culminate on Friday night, April 18th, with the Bruce Craddock Memorial Spring Football Game.
And that should be a lot of fun. Do you have an idea what the format's going to be, or you want to kind of keep that a secret for now?
Yeah, some of it's a little bit TBD. You know, I think some of it you have to, as a coach, you get through spring football and you just make sure that injury-wise you got enough numbers. You know, if you're going to divide teams up, I've done a lot of different ways, but I can promise everybody coming that night it'll be exciting for sure.
All right. And if people, I know they're jacked up in the community about the direction the program is heading. If they want to get involved, are there ways for them to get involved and help out with the kids?
Absolutely. Well, we are momentarily about to kick off our second big fundraiser here. Many folks know when I was hired last year, you know, we put together a $50K before kickoff fundraiser, and that money was meant to feed our players' training table. And it was meant for a lot of aesthetic improvements in and around Hanson Field and inside of Western Hall. And we ended up raising almost $80,000 on that initiative. So really, really positive. And this year is going to transcend a little bit the reality of what's called name, image, and likeness, or NIL, has certainly taken control of college football. Again, right, wrong, or indifferent, however you look at it. But there are multiple teams in our league that have found ways to pay players. And we're going to explore that here at Western.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we're taking Western into the new era of Division I football. And we want to do it a little bit uniquely here and make sure that it fits this community, it fits this university, and it fits this football program. And I'm also an earned opportunity guy. I want our players to earn it. I want, through their academic achievements, their community service achievements, and certainly if they're an excellent football player, I want to have the ability to reward that young man based on the current rules and the landscape of Division I football. So the fundraising that we're going to kick off, it's really a player experience enhancement fund, because that's what it is. We want to enhance the experience of our football players here at Western Illinois, and this big spring fundraising initiative is going to be a massive push that we're going to unleash here in about the next week.
And I like what you said. It's almost a reward-based system in a way, but the responsibility that comes with being a Leatherneck football player. I mean, going back to last fall, if I could just point something out to the people, the school got comments from other schools about how clean Western Illinois left the locker room after they departed after a road game. Win, lose, or otherwise, you cleaned up after yourselves. The managers did a great job putting everything back the way you found it, and that's a big part of the responsibility these guys have.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you noticing that, and I appreciate you mentioning that. It matters. Those are the little things. It's all about being a good person. It's about being a good team, and I think from a broader perspective, it's teaching these young men how to be good people. It's teaching these young men how to put their own selfish ambitions aside for the betterment of the football team. And also plays into a lot of the theme that we talk about right now, is that leaving the house better than you found it, and so those things, those little details, I think, I hope, are going to go a long way into developing champions here at Western.
A little purple pride.
Amen.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in your recruiting coordinator next here in just a minute. Talk a little bit about Josh Caraway. You brought him in last year, and what a job he does organizing that department.
Yeah, I mentioned Josh earlier, a guy that's just really taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, when we named him recruiting coordinator last May. I mentioned Coach Fox, and that Coach Fox and I had a 20-plus year relationship. To make a long story longer, I had actually had a special teams coordinator, recruiting coordinator that I was set to hire when I was hired. That particular individual got another opportunity, and Josh had basically cold called, emailed me. He'd been at Liberty, sent me an email with all the accomplishments that the special teams units at Liberty had. Certainly, the name Liberty raised my eyebrows. They were coming off a 13-1 season. Yep. They had lost to Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl, had dominated the national special teams rankings, and so I knew this guy knew what it looked like to win and to be part of a championship program. So he's really taken our recruiting department to a whole nother level when it comes to organization and professionalism, attention to detail, and I think, again, kind of a secret sauce, behind the scenes kind of a guy that has had a huge role in making this a very successful class.
And you mentioned, we talk about his recruiting prowess, but also the special teams were a good, consistent unit for you no matter what it was. Returns, field goals, punts, did a nice job last year.
That's absolutely, and I tell the players all the time, BJ, I said, you want something done, go ask the busiest guy that you know, and he'll figure out a way to get it done. And that's how I would describe Josh. No job is too big, no job is too small. He'll take on anything that we ask him to take on, and he takes it on with a lot of pride. And he wants to make sure that he's doing it in the best way that he possibly can, and it shows up in special teams, certainly is showing up in recruiting, and excited to watch him continue to grow as a coach here over this next year.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll bring Josh over here to the table and chat with him. Josh Caraway's up next. This is the National Signing Day Show from the Sports Corner on 124.
Grit. It's that thing inside of you that ignites passion and empowers you to envision a world full of possibility. At Western Illinois University, Leathernecks are made with this grit. It starts here, in this field, in this room, on this court, and in this lab. We refuse to blend in because our purple stands out.
This February, apply to Western Illinois University for free. At WIU, your college and career journey is yours to define. Discover the place where you can unleash your potential. Apply for free through February 28th.
Into To the Sports Corner. Hope you're enjoying the program tonight here on YouTube, Letterneck Nation. We're going to talk with Josh Caraway, the special teams coach and also the recruiting coordinator, and also just spent his first winter up north, basically.
This is correct. I did do a 2-year stint out in Nebraska, but that was a while back. I personally think it's a little bit colder here than it is further out there west, BJ.
So you survived that January cold snap?
Yes, sir.
All
yes,
right.
sir. That I did.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the main thing that we're talking about tonight is recruitment with this new class coming in. You work with the coaches when they get a guy that you guys have identified that you want. Tell us about what happens next.
Yeah, well, I definitely think recruiting is a whole team effort. It takes everybody in the building to be able to look at not just the great state of Illinois, because there's a lot of good football players here, but really as a Division I institution, you're looking all across the country for those best players. So it starts with just cutting up the state of Illinois with guys in certain counties, guys in certain areas, and combing over those areas. And then once we've hit every single spot in Illinois where we know there is good high school football, again, Chicago, going to be some great guys over there. Peoria, Rock Island, man. Those are my areas. I know we're always going to find guys there. How it works once we've ID'd a guy, usually we pass it from the area coach to the position coach. Once the position coach has seen it and says, oh, man, this guy can really play, this guy can help us, it gets kicked to the coordinator, either offensively, defensively. If it's a special teams guy, well, that just goes straight to me. And then me as the recruiting coordinator, I always really believe in letting the coaches recruit and letting the coordinators having the final say. But I do love to, once we have a guy that's kind of hit that final stage of whether we see him in Macomb as a future Leatherneck, I love to pop on that tape and see what they put on film for sure.
And another thing Joe mentioned earlier, too, is the transcripts and looking at how they are as a student and multiple sport athletes and all the things that go into that.
Correct, yes. It's a long, long line of red tape and paperwork that has to get done. But I'm a full believer in is that if we're going to get the right guys, we're going to do everything necessary to be able to do that. Even that includes transcripts, OVs, unofficial visits. You know, I'm a big believer in that the more times that we can get a guy on campus, the more connection he feels with a specific place. And at the end of the day, and again, BJ, I don't know if you know this, I started off as a high school coach.
Right.
So I started off taking these players to these visits. And then I was a small college coach at an NAIA school. And some of the best recruiting advice I ever got was you're going to recruit guys that you build those relationships with. So getting them on campus, building relationships with not just the recruiting coordinator or the head coach, but their position coach as well, seeing that this is a all hands on deck operation. Once a guy sees that and feels at home with us, that's when we know that we've got our guy.
One of the crazy things that I see about recruiting today is the social media recruitment. You have so many kids that are looking for a team to play for that will drop into your X or your Facebook or your Instagram and show a little video clip of themselves that they have, or and give you their statistics and their details. I'm sure you guys sit and look at every one of those and say, should we pursue this?
Oh, well, it's almost too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know that my personal email is put on the school website, so any kid in America can go look at our staff page and go get Coach Caraway's email and send me his highlights and send me his stuff. And then obviously with any type of social media, I would say Twitter or X would be the primary one that we use a lot as far as recruiting. Once we follow a guy, he can send us his stuff. But again, BJ, I think that's where, again, kicking it back to position coaches to area coaches, so it's a complete full staff effort. And it's not just me going through all those tapes. If I get a guy in my email, right, and he's a current high school senior, he's got great measurables, he's got great tape, I will definitely kick that to the position coach to watch. But maybe if I'm dealing with 300 emails, I might not have, the time to sit down, especially when I'm coordinating for special teams,
right.
Or then I'm the tight ends coach as well, so I'm coaching the tight ends. What I will do is if I can look at that email, look at that DM and say, oh man, this guy's got what it takes, send that straight to the position coach. Or a lot of times our grad assistants, they don't get enough credit where credit's due. They do a great job of watching and evaluating film, of making sure that top high school athletes, top guys, get to our position coaches, get to our coordinators, and ultimately get to myself and Joe, to where we can hopefully get these guys on campus and wearing the purple and gold.
I've actually seen some of the grad assistants doing that on their laptops, watching huddle tape
Right.
and what have you. And that's a thing. 40 years ago, you had to kind of trust what the kid's high school coach told you, right? But now
Right.
you can see the huddle tape or whatever the service they use. Do you have any tips for anybody that might be an impending senior this year that's looking to get themselves out there? What do you put on a huddle tape? Do you put all good?
Right. Well,
Or do you put some honest plays on there where you maybe?
I would start with this. If I am a high school student athlete trying to get recruited by any college football team, I think the most important thing is whether it's an email, a DM, or a tweet, you've got to keep it concise. Tell us your year, your height, your weight, your GPA, and where you are from and what position that you play. A lot of guys, they'll start going on talking about who they are and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what high school graduate you are. Because right now it's spring of 2025. We can't talk to 2027's current sophomores. We can't talk to them. So it's like I've got to know what your graduating year is first. So all high school guys, you've got to be very clear cut, concise with your basic info, because that helps me ID quickly. Are you an offensive lineman? Are you an Illinois guy? What's your GPA? Because if you don't have the GPA, I'm wasting my time and your time if we're going down that. But once they've got that straight, for any type of huddle highlight, I like for those highlight videos, sometimes they'll go for 10 minutes, and I know some coaches, they really like a kid, they'll sit there for those 10 minutes, but most guys, they're going to sit there, you got 2 minutes to show a coach what you've got and what you can do, and it really kind of varies by position. You just don't want a lot of the clips to be a lot of the same thing. Let's just say I coach tight ends, right? So if I'm watching a tight end clip, I want to see a great clip of you absolutely demolishing some guy in the blocking game.
Right.
I want to see a clip of you maybe catching the long ball, down the hashes. Maybe you scoring a touchdown. Maybe a hustle play where you're blocking on the backside, but you get through there. And then there's just so many ways that you can show yourself. I know with running backs, don't just put, your long runs on there. What do you look like in pass pro? What do you look like catching the ball? For offensive linemen, don't just get the ones where you're comboing up to that box backer. Get one where you're running a screen, when you're out there in space. How do you move? How do you bend? That would be my biggest advice.
Show some variety.
Yeah, show some variety in what type of game that you've got. And again, you might have your wide receivers who are quote-unquote the long ball guys. You might have your tight ends who are blocking tight ends or receiving tight ends. Or you might have your running backs who are sometimes called, that's your downhill guy. It's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, he's going to do that. But the more versatile you can make yourself, especially with your highlight tape, you're going to get more people's notice. And it's just like business or just like coaching. How many things can you do well? And that people know if you're not in the building, whoa, something's wrong right now. And I think that's an early lesson that those guys can learn as far as making their tapes.
It's their resume, basically, is what they're sending you. And I've had one coach tell me he'd rather see a guy make a hard 6-yard run against a competent, effective, good defense than show me a 40-yard run against a bunch of guys that couldn't play very well.
Absolutely. Just personally, one of my favorite clips is when a running back maybe doesn't get the ball, the quarterback pulls it, but he's nose right into the line and he finds somebody to go block and he runs somebody over and then they end up scoring and doesn't have the ball. Trying to see that heart of a football player. I think that goes volumes for the type of guys that we're trying to recruit here at Western.
Well, I think this class has Coach very excited. Coach Fox is very excited. I know you guys have been working your tail off. Hopefully get a couple days rest here before you start the spring.
Yes, sir. One thing that I was looking at the numbers, BJ, that I was this week actually marks 1 year that I've been here. I moved here February of signing day.
Wow.
Last year. When we got here last year, on roster with Western football, we had 79 guys for the spring semester. Right now we've got 93, just 1 year later. We're up 14 right now, and between the early signing day, the mid-year transfers, and the guys that we got today, we got 39 new Leathernecks. And so I think that's just a testament to our whole staff, picking up every single rock, going East Coast, West Coast, finding the right dudes that are going to take this program to where it can be, where it used to be, and where I know that where it can be headed.
Well, we're excited about it. We are so glad you are a part of the staff.
Yes, sir. Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you.
I appreciate you too, BJ.
Let's call Coach Davis back over here real quick. Josh Caraway, the special teams coordinator, and also the recruiting coordinator and the tight ends coach. He's a busy guy. You got him doing a lot of stuff, Coach.
That's what I said, man. You want something done, you ask the busiest guy you know. Josh exemplifies that. We're excited to have him with us.
Well, we hope to do these events again for you. We wanted to get this thing together for you in February to talk about the excitement of this National Football Signing Day and the class that's coming in. Good things happening in Leathernecks football. Coach, any final words?
Well, I just, I want to thank the community. I certainly want to thank my wife and my daughters. Whitney, my wife is, the ultimate Leatherneck supporter and has really become entrenched in this community. She's already planning for our second women's football night here in August. We hope to see everyone out for that again. And my daughters, Zoe and Jolie, they're getting a little stir crazy over there.
Yeah,
but
they were watching. They were critiquing you there on the phone. Huh?
Yep, everybody's a critic, BJ, as you're aware. But they got their Shirley Temples. They got their cheeseburgers. It's a good night, man, in Leatherneck Nation.
All right. Thanks to you, and thanks to all the coaches and staff who are here. Thanks to Landon Fox and Josh Caraway for coming on with us. And thank you, folks, for watching. It's going to be a great spring. It's going to be a great fall. Make sure you follow GoLeathernecks.com. Make sure you follow this channel, Western Illinois Athletics, on YouTube for more things coming up in the future. Thanks very much for watching tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you soon.